and the choice that I just made on my 5,800 square foot build will prove that I really am a sucker for it. What is up, YouTube? So today I'm going to talk to you guys about Pier and Beam foundation versus slab foundation. I'm rained out on my project right now, so I figured I would take time to make this video. I've made a few other ones like this. You guys seem to like them a lot, and I feel like the more that our culture is changing to where a lot of people are starting to do things themselves. They're wanting to learn how to build little cabins, buy land, do some off-grid projects, build barns, sheds, barndominiums, full-scale homes. A lot of people have questions, or even if you're having someone else build them and you're wondering, do I go slab foundation or pier and beam foundation? I'm going to give you my 2 cents. I will say I am biased. I absolutely love pier and beam foundations, and the choice that I just made on my 5,800 square foot build will prove that I really am a sucker for a pier and beam. But let's start with slab because I feel like it's a little bit quicker to cover in my opinion. Slab foundation, slab on grade, which is basically you form up your slab with 2x6s, 2x4s, fab form, fast foot. You use rebar, you use pump trucks, concrete trucks, whatever it is, whatever the thing is. And you pour that slab onto the earth, right? Now, there's a lot that goes into slab. Now, this would be probably, well, let's start with pros. Let's just get the pros out of the way. The pros of a slab are it is a flat working surface once you're done with concrete. Then you just frame your walls up. You start from bottom plate and you go all the way up. There's no real issue with that. They're very secure. They're very sturdy. They're very durable. They have a lot of strength to them. And in a lot of contractors' eyes, they're more cost effective to build than pier and beam foundations. Now, I agree with that. I disagree with that. So we'll get into that in a second. Other pros of slab is that you have the ability to do all different types of flooring. You can do finished concrete, right? You can finish that concrete out. You can stain it. You can etch it. It's very, very easy to do. You can, your garage can be right off your house. There's no need for step downs. Most of the time you can build slab foundations without having to step up into your home. So if you want really easy accessibility, maybe there's people that have wheelchairs or that are older that just don't want to have any steps in their house. Slab is a great way to just be flat, straight on the ground, no steps. You walk from the front to the back and you don't have to step up once. So those are some pros to slab. And I would have to say that's the majority of the pros. There are some pros that are coming out that are a lot more, I wouldn't say newer, but they're becoming more and more, what's the word? Foolproof is the radiant heating in the floor. So you can have heated slabs so your home can be a little bit more efficient and you can have a lot more comfortable home. So those things are becoming more popular, as well as you're able to insulate slabs a little bit better now than we used to. We have subgrade insulation that we're using a lot in slabs nowadays. That was one of my big cons for slabs, a few years ago, was just the insulation value. But you're able to do that insulation under your slab now. Is it more cost effective at that point? Absolutely not. You are getting into a lot more money. But those are pretty much the pros. And if you guys are slab fans, please leave more pros that you guys have for slab foundation. So here's some of the cons with slab. The biggest one, in my opinion, is remodeling or repairing. If you have some sewer gases that are leaking up into your house and you figure out that, your plumber forgot to put a P-trap in, or there's a crack in one of your plumbing pipes under the slab, or maybe you have a clog that you can't get to and they can't rotor it out or rotor-rooter it out or whatever, and you're having to dig up your slab, which means they're going to cut a big hole in your flooring in your house. They're going to jack up the concrete. It's going to be messy. It's going to be dusty. It's going to be loud. They're going to cut through that. They're going to dig it up. It's going to be terrible. And then that's to fix one spot where maybe your pipe is cracked by this much, right? It is a time-consuming process to get that done. Not to mention very invasive. Lots of people will move out during that process. And I can't possibly imagine having to move out of my house or section off my kitchen or my bathroom for a week just to fix a minor plumbing crack, right? Now, hopefully those things don't happen, but if they do, it's a problem. Or say you grow into your house and you have kids that end up going into bedrooms that didn't have a bathroom. Maybe you want to put a bathroom into one of your kids' bedrooms, or you want to move the toilet over and add a shower to a powder room. Again, you're having to jack up that slab. Now, it's one thing if you have a rebar slab, it's not as bad. It's bad, but it's not as bad. But if you have a post-tension slab, that's pretty much a no-go. you're stuck with whatever you have in your slab. Your plumbing is solidified in the slab. So every change, whether your concrete starts to sag, starts to crack, it is invasive. It is very expensive. It's not something that you can go to Home Depot and grab some tools. It's not something that you can go out to your tool trailer and grab some tools. It is very industry specific, trade specific tools. You will have to hire someone unless you work concrete. It's just a pain. It's just a pain. Everything about slab post slab installation is a pain. There's just no easy way to repair, fix, move, change, remodel a slab foundation. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. The other aspect that I dislike about slabs is that it's hard on your body. I worked at a grocery store for 8 years, okay? And when you stand on concrete, if you guys have ever gone to like Disneyland or you go to Bass Pro for 3 hours or Costco, and you're like, man, I don't know why, but like just walking around just in this area for a couple hours, my body just aches. That's because concrete does not have any give. It has no deflection. When you step on it, your body has to be the shock absorber. So your knees, your hips, your ankles, your feet are going to absorb all the shock from your slab. Now you can mitigate that by adding pad under whatever flooring material you put under there. But most of the time, if you're doing hardwood floors, you can't put pad under that. Or if you're doing tile, you can't put pad under that. So you're stuck with a floor that is going to force you to absorb the shock that you're living on. So I don't like living on slabs. It's just not good. I've lived in a slab house for many years, did not like it. I've lived in Pier and Beam for many years, and it's a significant difference that you wouldn't know if you haven't tried both of them. You wouldn't notice how nice Pier and Beam is unless you've lived on slab, and you probably won't notice how bad slab is until you live on Pier and Beam. It's one of those things that over the years you start to be like, dang, I just like I wear shoes. Like when I lived in the house that I was living in that was a slab, I had those like, I still have them. They're like Crocs, basically, where they have cushion, and I had to wear those around the house all the time. Otherwise, I'm ex-football player. I got knees, I got ankles, I got plantar fasciitis, and that concrete would destroy me. So that's a huge con for me. Is that so? The other cons are insulation. You can insulate a slab, but it's still significantly more cost to you as the builder or the homeowner to insulate a slab, and it's not going to be as continuous of an envelope as you could potentially get with a pier and beam. So insulation is tough. And one thing, and this is just my personal opinion, the two homes that I lived in that were slab, what I realized is there was a lot more insects, millipedes, just little bugs, spiders, beetles, whatever, that would make it into the house. Now, that isn't necessarily just a slab problem. That's just the tightness of the home in general. But what I do notice is that if my front door is on grade with my front lawn, I'm getting a lot more insects that are coming up to the edge and perimeter of my house and dying and crawling through the door when it's open, or even through a corner of the door that's not fully sealed. It was just, I didn't like it. I didn't like it. So that's my own personal opinion. If you build a very tight envelope, you probably won't have that problem. But overall, it is a problem that happens in my case more so than pier and beam. So those would be the major cons. Here's the one that is another kind of personal opinion. I don't necessarily find concrete to be more cost effective. When you look at buying rebar for 3,000 square feet, that's a couple grand. When you look at forming up concrete with 2x4s, 2x6s, 2x10s, 2x12s, that's another couple $1,000s. Then you have your vapor barriers, right? Then you have the whole crew that needs to come out and pour the concrete, finish the concrete. You got the price of the concrete, which right now, I was just pricing out concrete. We're looking at around $158 a yard, and that's low compared to where you can get it in other areas. And then there's also environmental fees that go on top of that. So for every truck in my area, excuse me, tired, it's been a long day. I'm not even gonna cut that out. I'm just too much editing. $40 environmental fee for every truck. So for the pour that I'm doing just for footings, I think I need 6 or 7 trucks. So I'm gonna be paying $40 per truck just to get the concrete there. And if you need a concrete pump, there's another $2,000 to $2,500. So when you're all said and done, and say you're doing a 2,000 square foot slab, you're looking at a pretty pricey slab, right? I'll do the math and I'll put it up on screen here, what it would cost to do a slab. Just to give you an idea, 2,000 square feet, say you're doing, let's call it a 6-inch slab. Let's say you're doing standard rebar, you're doing standard footings around the edge, and you're doing like a Stego vapor barrier. This is, I'll put a number up here of kind of the cost roughly in my area in Texas. So again, I don't find it to be cost effective. Not to mention, it is a very stressful process. So one, if you have a crew that can just knock it out, I highly recommend. Concrete is one of those things that I do not recommend DIYing. So if you're watching this, as someone who watches my channel knows that I build my own houses, do this all this stuff, concrete is not something that you want to DIY. It is a very hurry up and wait type of trade. But once that concrete starts flowing, you don't take a lunch. You don't take a water break. You don't take, a phone call. Once that concrete starts flowing, it is go time until you get that surface finished. And then you can go grab your water, make a phone call, maybe take a lunch, and then you're back out there and you got to make sure you do your control lines. You got to make sure you do all the other stuff and get that finished up. And then once that's all said and done, then you have to strip the forms. So when you talk about labor, when you talk about the amount of men that you need on site to do concrete, I really don't see it being cost effective. Now, once you span upwards of 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 square feet, I think concrete might start comparing price wise with Pier and Beam, because once you get to that level of span of 5,000, 6,000, even 3,000 feet, now it's like, okay, let me just form up a box. Let me get this done and let's just get the concrete flowing versus pouring your footings and then having to do a lot of load bearing beams. You have to do your eye joists. That gets really expensive when you're doing, specific special order stuff. But I think if you're building anything under 2,000 square feet, I would take it to the bank that you could get a Pier and Beam done cheaper for a 2,000 square foot home than you could with Slab. And another thing I forgot to mention about Slab is dirt work. And I'll kind of get into that with the Pier and Beam, but for a slab, you need to make sure you have soil across the entire scope of your build, not just the footings, but you need to have quality soil for the 1, 2, 3, 4, 10,000 square foot house that you're building. So if you're like me, where you have really expansive clay, you're going to need to scrape that off and you're going to bring in truckloads after truckloads. I think I needed over 22 truckloads of select fill if I was going to do a slab. That's really expensive. So not only that, but if you're building on a hillside or the terrain's not flat, you're going to need to flatten out that terrain. So you're going to have to build up one side, dig out the other side, whatever it is. You're talking about getting dozers, excavators, skid steers. You're going to get trucks to haul off the dirt that you take out. You're going to need trucks to haul in dirt that you're going to bring in. I don't know why people like slabs. I'm just saying I don't get it. It doesn't make sense to me. So that overall is why I don't like slabs. Those are all the reasons. Okay, so let's move on to Pier and Beam. I'm going to mention the reasons that Pier and Beam is bad because it's very few. One of the main reasons Pier and Beam is bad is because most of the time you are building with wood. Wood can rot. Wood can accept moisture. You can have the potential for mold, rot, mildew on a Pier and Beam foundation, right? That is a big negative for Pier and Beam foundations, right? The other negative for having a Pier and Beam foundation is that you have a crawl space under your house, which can be susceptible to critters like snakes and raccoons and feral cats and mice and frogs and whatever it is. That could be a problem. And then the third reason why I think Pier and Beam isn't as, or one of the caveats or issues, cons, is that you can get moisture under there. If and I'm be honest with y'all, I'll just put myself on the chopping block. I left a spot on the back of my house here that I'm in that I built where water somehow found its way under my house, and I have moisture under my house right now. So I'm currently mitigating that, drying it out, and trying to get that taken care of because I missed a spot where water can get under my house because I'm on a hill. So there's those reasons. And once that water gets down there, then you got to think about, well, how is that affecting my floor joists? How is that affecting all these other things? So that is a con for a Pier and Beam foundation. Overall, I would say that's the cons that I would say for Pier and Beam. Now, here's why I actually really, really love Pier and Beam. Basically, the exact opposite of why I don't like slabs is it's better for your body. It's better on your joints. It's more comfortable. You can just live very comfortably. It feels homey. It feels cozy. It's one of those things where it's just, I feel like humans are meant to be on natural materials, not just on like, I guess rock is natural, but not just a solid, hard surface. So it's a lot more livable. You have a lot more options when it comes to flooring. You can do nail down flooring. You can do tile. You can do, LVP. There's a lot less worry with moisture wicking up through your slab and ruining your flooring. So on a Pier and Beam, I think you can do more. Now, if you are going to be doing heavier materials like stone or flagstone in bathrooms or whatnot on a Pier and Beam, you're going to want to frame accordingly. You're going to want to beef up the framing. If you're doing a massive waterfall countertop in your kitchen with a granite or marble, you're going to want to beef up that structure and make sure that your TGIs or whatever you use are solid to carry that load, which will all be done in engineering for your live load and your dead load. But overall, you can pretty much do anything with Pier and Beam foundation, and it's absolutely spectacular, and I love it. The other pros of Pier and Beam foundation is plumbing. Where do you want it? You can put it there. Oh man, there's a smell coming from my shower. I don't see anything wrong in my bathroom, so let me crawl into the house. Oh, look, this fitting got a little loose and we need to cut this off, put a new, P-trap in here and glue it back together. You're done with a trip to Home Depot, getting some PVC glue and a P-trap, and you're done within 2 hours. And everybody who was in your house didn't even know you were doing it. So that's huge for me. Or, hey, my kids are older and they're moving, like instead of sharing a bedroom, they're going to be splitting up. They're going to be in the guest bedroom, but they want their own bathroom. So we're going to turn the hallway powder room into a full bathroom. And we're going to do that by adding a shower drain. Boom, you tie it into your existing plumbing under the house. Done. All your kids move out and you want to turn one of the bathrooms into a closet. You go in there, you cut off the plumbing below there, you tie it all up, you remove all that, you put new floor decking down, and you got a closet. Whatever you want to do, it can be done with Pier and Beam. You want to remodel, right? You want to add on to it. You tie onto that ledger board, you pour your footings. It's just one of those things where it just has so many more options down the road. And say you have a pier that sinks, God forbid, but say they didn't hit bedrock on one of your piers and you notice that one corner of your house is dropping a couple inches. All good. You jack up that portion of the house, you take out that column that's not working, you dig down there, you pour it again, and you're done without any invasion into your home. So overall, it's bad to think that you want to build a house for repairs, but I also think that there needs to be a reality check of homes have issues no matter how they're built, and we should always prepare to never have an issue, but be ready to have an easy fix if and when that issue presents itself. The other aspect I like about Pier and Beam Foundation is that it's doable by 1 to 2 guys. I did a 1,300 and change build right here, and I framed up the entire Pier and Beam myself. It took me probably a day, maybe a day and a half, got it knocked out, no problem. The other pro is that I think it's really important for homeowners, especially when you're building a custom home, is to have your plumbing and know where your plumbing is going, obviously. But once you walk that house for the first time with the walls up, it's nice to look around and be like, you know what? I don't like the shower on this side or the toilet on this side. I want to flip-flop those. It's a change order if you're not doing it yourself, but they can easily be like, yeah, we're going to put the shower over here. We're going to put the toilet over here. They cut the holes, they switch it around, and you're good to go. So it gives you the ability to maneuver things during the build process to make sure you get exactly what you want. Whereas if you had a slab, it'd be like, oh man, I hate that the shower's on this side. I don't like the way it works with the door, but it is what it is, and you move on, and you just built your dream home, and you have no option to change things to be exactly what you like. I mean, you can, it's just gonna be incredibly expensive. So those are some real reasons that I like Pier and Beam over Slab. Not to mention, I just think that in the end, it ties everything together. You can insulate a Pier and Beam foundation, have a continuous envelope from the bottom of your home all the way up to the roof of your home. So you have this completely tight envelope, and it's very, very solid, very efficient. And that's why I'm building my 5,800 square foot insulated concrete farmhouse as a Pier and Beam foundation with a partial conditioned crawl space. And it's going to be awesome. So if you guys appreciate this video, please like, subscribe, leave a comment with any questions, concerns, or if you think I'm off my rocker. And then definitely check out the ICF build that I'm doing right now. I think I'm on episode 2 right now. We've had some major issues, but overall, appreciate you guys watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Much love.